Let's move on to one of our favourite topics on Gooner Fanzine TV, the parasol-wielding, 350k earning Mesut Ozil. Still hasn't featured. Still hasn't featured since the restart. Dan, what is your best guess as to why Arteta still doesn't trust him?
Sorry, I was just imagining threatening him, Arteta, with that parasol. Blaming.
I feel wielding is the correct word.
I don't know why he's not playing. I think, it's easy to speculate on the reason why he hasn't been playing. But if Arteta feels like he's not training well enough, which I think probably is the reason, then fair enough, You're not going to pull your weight. It doesn't matter how much money you're on or what you've done in the past or your stance in the game. If you're not doing it and the manager doesn't think you're worthy of the place, what's the point? Don't play him. I completely agree if that is the case. As we say, we can speculate all day long what it actually is. So, yeah, we'll just wait and see what happens. But I think his time at Arsenal is coming to a close.
Yeah, it looks to me like it's just, part of Arteta's ruthless approach at Arsenal. Layth, do you think that just means Ozil's just not on board with it?
I think he's been lazy. I think he hasn't trained well. Arteta's given him 6 months' worth of chances. Obviously coming in December, I know we've had the 3-month break, but he's been watching him in training since the restart and prior to that, and he's just not impressed him. He's not impressed him by what can only be described as a lack of effort, and it's inexcusable to have a lack of effort. You can understand players don't play well and you loss of form and not particularly good players to start with, but a lack of effort is unforgivable, and that looks like what Ozil has done. He was sat in front of me, literally 4 or 5 rows away. At Southampton on a baking hot day, and he was obviously, I could see him with the umbrella, and obviously that was that famous photo as well. But it was instructive when I think Eddie got the ball in the net from a Saka cross early on, and the guy was disallowed, rightly so, to be fair. Lacazette jumped up. I was watching all the subs. Half of them jumped up. Ozil was just like looking around. He was just and maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's just very languid. He doesn't get excited about anything, but. That for me summed up quite a lot for me. It was very instructive that he didn't leap up because he wasn't really supporting his teammates. He wasn't particularly interested. Didn't seem to want to be there, and that seems to be his general demeanour at London Colney as well. Hence the fact he hasn't been picked since the restart. And for me, it's just not good enough, and it's so disappointing because he's such a good player on his day. But on his day, when how many times has it been on his day? Napoli in 2013, Leicester last season. Bayern Munich, when we beat them 2-0, he had a decent game then. How many other games? At that level, you want to be doing it week in, week out. He's doing 1 game a season at the moment that seems to be brilliant. And it's just not good enough. And Arteta's had enough. And the sooner he's out of there, he's just a divisive presence at the moment, whether he likes it or not, whether he thinks he is or not. And we need to remove him. We need to remove him because it's not helping the squad. It's getting the fans annoyed. And obviously, we need to remove his wage bill or some of it. If he goes on loan, we pay off his wages. But for me, he hasn't got a future at Arsenal, surely, after what Arteta has done over the last four games.
That's really interesting what you say about his reaction, because we've speculated a lot about his body language and whether, we know he's I don't know, what's the word for us, sort of languid, as you said, he moves around. But I mean, Dan, you had a point there. What do you think?
It's interesting you mentioned that. I interviewed Charlie Gilmore a few weeks back. He was playing for Arsenal, was now at Norwich. And he was asking about Mesut Ozil because when he made his debut, he replaced Mesut Ozil as substitute. And I was asking him about what he's like off the pitch, and he said that he didn't understand the criticism surrounding the way he plays and whatever, because he is one of the best players he's ever played with, if not the best. But when I asked Charlie about what Mesut Ozil was like off the pitch, he said, yeah, he's just so laid back. He kind of is in his own world at times. And I think, being laid back off the pitch, fine. I think we'd all agree we're fairly laid back people. But when you're at work and you've got things to do, you've got to step it up. You can't be laid back and chilled out and pretend like you're not bothered. You've got to step it up. And I think that is the case. I think the way he is off the pitch sometimes impacts the way he is on it.
Yeah, and that's the part of the whole being part of a team, isn't it? That reaction to a goal is really important for a teammate to see as well. To see that everybody cares about the team goal of going forward. I mean, Glen, I know you've had since the restart a little bit of a change of opinion on Ozil. Where do you stand with him now?
Well, in a nutshell, Arteta gave him his chance, didn't he? Pre-lockdown, he seemed to feature in. Well, I think he featured in every game more or less. Something's happened. I'd like to know what. I don't know why. I think he's supreme talent, but it's no good for anyone. Like I said last week, if everyone's talking about him all the time, there's clearly something's happened. I don't know. It's just disappointing because I still think he could have something to say on the pitch. Particularly with a sort of cup games coming up that we may have. Possibly even a final. But going back to the umbrella, I was just over when the camera went in, and I thought he was going to float down from the stands, Mary Poppins like with his umbrella. And scatter a bit of magic over the pitch, but didn't. Mesut Poppins. But,
Mesut Poppins, love it.
Arteta calls him on as a sub, and he just comes flying down.
Yeah. But like I said, we've got to draw a line under it. But it's easy to say we've got to get rid of him. But where's he going to go? Who's going to have him? How are they going to foot the bill? I still think this will run him. I really do. I
was just going to say, with £350,000 a week. Who's gonna take those wages on, even if he goes on loan? Arsenal are going to fund at least half that if he does go on loan somewhere. If they sell him, that how much is a club going to buy him for? Arsenal are probably going to take a massive hit on the wages just to get him off the wage bill, and the buying club will know that and factor it in the bid they're going to offer as well. So Arsenal are going to take a massive hit on Ozil, and it's just such a shame. Yeah, absolutely.
Mkhitaryan had the same problem though, and we did that to Roma, don't we? We still paid £175,000 a week to Roma for him, aren't we?
Yeah, we're paying a fair bit. I think he's on 200, 220 or something. So maybe half of that. Yeah.
But I mean, Toby, if you look at Mesut Ozil's stats just in the Premier League in the past 5 years, he's gotten noticeably less effective. The 15-16 season, he played 35 matches, 6 goals and 19 assists. That's his best record by far. Following season, 33 matches, 8 goals, 9 assists. Following season, 26 matches, 4 goals, 8 assists. Then last year, it was 24 matches, 5 goals, 2 assists. So he's playing fewer games, fewer goals, and fewer assists every year. So he's been on a significant downturn in the Premier League, which is, the most important sort of statistical look at. And he's just not improving, and he's not trying to get back to his former heights. So I think he's just realised he's on a bit of a nadir, and then he just kind of, I think either he's probably just disappointed in himself and he doesn't really know how to get motivated again. But I mean, I don't know what the problem is. Arteta played with him for 2-3 years, so they should have a very good, quite close relationship. So unless there was a bit of Wayne Bridge, John Terry about their relationship, they should be good mates.
Brilliant speculation. But that 19 assists, did you say 16-17 that was? Yeah. That was, he was the man at that time, wasn't he? He was really
15, 16.
I've got an issue with this. Everyone quotes that season about how good he was. He had 15 of those before Christmas, and he got 1 or 2 after Christmas. Mm-hmm. What's the point in turning up half the season? I think it kind of sums him up in a way, Yeah. First half of the season, he's brilliant. Second half, doesn't do anything. If you were to sum up his Arsenal time in one season, that would be it.
Yeah. But what I mean really is that was the Ozil brand was huge at that time, wasn't it? The assist king thing. I think that's why Adidas recently dropped him as one of their sponsors as athletes, and I think that's a big a telling factor in his decline. But have you in the restart games? Has there been a moment where you've looked at the pitch and gone, Ozil? I would trust Ozil to come on and make a difference here.
I think the 1-0 head at Brighton with 20-25 minutes to go. I think it was at 68th minute we scored. That was the time for Ozil to come on. Really hot day. Brighton are slightly demoralised at going 1-0 down. Tired legs. Bring Ozil on. Look for a second goal. And it looked. I think he was sort of warming up down the touchline. And then Arteta just didn't bring him on. And for me, that would have been the moment when you thought, okay, well, he's rested him for City. He'll be back in the fold today. When Arteta didn't bring him on after that, you suddenly gone, well, actually, I think Arteta's trying to freeze him out, because that would have been the moment for Ozil to come on. And he didn't do it, basically. That was it for me.
Yeah. Glenn, I mean, do you see it as a sort of, when he leaves, will it be almost a black cloud leaving? Not necessarily Ozil himself, but all of the talk around it. Do you think it will be a boost to Arsenal when he does eventually just go?
Yeah, I think so. I said in the podcast last week, I used the phrase, there's a lot of noise. There's consistent noise around him, and I'll reiterate, it doesn't benefit any of the parties. I mean, it must do his head in as well. I mean, he's a footballer. He obviously, surely he loves the game, and he's not, he's not doing his job. Not getting picked to do his job. Just ludicrous. But yeah, I mean, I think, I think it'll be best all round once he's gone.
That's what's always been the confusing thing, isn't it? It's just, does he not want to play football?
Yeah. I know. I mean, I would love to know what he's done, what he hasn't done. But there we go. There's something fundamental.
It was so telling when you looked at the subs bench and you saw an untested 19-year-old in Matt Smith on the subs bench over Ozil. That for me is incredibly telling about Arteta just going, you know what, I'm not even going to bother. I'm going to try something completely different, untested, brand new. And I know he said he wants to focus on his youth players, but that is, for me, that is mental. That decision was made between 7 years experience, most expensive player, untested 19-year-olds. And he went for the untested.
Volumes, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. Yeah. It stays volumes.
Matt Smith got 14 assists for the under-23s last season, so he's still done more than Ozil.
we watched him a few times for the under-23s, didn't we?
Yeah, good little player.
Yeah, really, really rating. Yeah.
But is he better than Ozil?
I think he is at the moment. If you ask Mikel Arteta, yeah.
Better than the parasol Ozil, anyway.
It was really small as well. It wasn't like an umbrella. It looked like a toy, like a child's one or something. I don't know where he got it from, but
pointless, much like the man himself. But as you say, when you mentioned what actually is going to happen in the summer, obviously he's been linked before to the likes of Galatasaray and Fenerbahce. And I think before, when there was rumours of him being bought, there was no chance he was going to take a pay cut. Do you think there's any way he would take a pay cut? Do you think he's keen to get out?
I don't think he'll take a pay cut, but I think with his Turkish heritage, I think a move to Turkey, even on loan, would be a good one football-wise. But also, I think the interest in Turkey would be absolutely phenomenal, and it might be behind the scenes they could broker some sort of commercial arrangement with sponsors or something, certainly to pay half his wages potentially, or even a third. I mean, Arsenal would probably take that as well. But I think a move to Turkey would do him good. Germany, I'm not too sure at the moment because he's not the most popular player over there, and does he want to go back? Munich have just won the title for the 8th year in a row. Are they going to have him? I don't think so. So where's he going to go? Dortmund have just posted a loss of 50 million or 46 million euros. So how many teams can afford him? So I think a move to Turkey potentially could work out well for every party, basically. Whether it happens, like we've been saying, I don't know.
Yeah, he's always said that he wants to play for Fenerbahce at some point in his career, and he's 32 now. So, time's running out if he wants to make that move. So I think that could be a possibility. I mean, question for all of you: Would you kind of accept the situation where he left permanently to go somewhere like Fenerbahce, but Arsenal subsidised his wages, and obviously not the whole amount, but a little bit of the money?
What if, in terms of if they signed him permanently?
Yeah, so if he went to Fenerbahce permanently and Arsenal made a contribution of, say, 100 grand to his wage packet still, I mean, would you take that to get him out the door?
It would be hugely embarrassing for Arsenal, but yeah, probably would. Because you're still saving 250 grand a week.
Yeah.
You're saving £1 million a month. Yeah, so good question. Yeah, I probably would. But it'd be a massive, massive humiliation for Arsenal to do that, basically.
Yes, Serge.
I don't know if any of you have seen this, but I've got a few Turkish friends, and there's actually been a GoFundMe raise up by fans to try and raise funds to bring Ozil over to
I'll put some money in. Send me the link.
Yeah, there's actually a
quid for you then, Dan.
Yeah, I've seen that, Serge, actually.
And I mean, the idea of it boggles my mind that they're watching the same Ozil we are, but they just love him because of who he is. And I think, maybe he's seen that as well. Maybe he's making that decision. You know what? It makes sense for him. He's got to do it. But it's very easy to say you want to play for a team. It's a lot harder to say I don't want that wage packet.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of pieces. There's a lot of writing and a lot of, I'm sure we'll talk about it at the time when he does leave, a lot of sort of what could have been in a way. Are you going to feel sad when he leaves?
No.
I'll feel relieved. But with a tang of real regret, because I always want to see playmakers do well and creative talents do well, and it just didn't happen. It's not going to happen, I don't think.
I mean, we've had the history of Arsenal players that have left us through disappointment, and I won't be as bitter about him leaving as I was like Van Persie. I won't be as angry about it as like when Nasri left. It would just be.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, we could do a podcast on that, couldn't we? Arsenal players have left that you hate now, because I hate Robin van Persie, I hate Nasri. I was really disappointed in Sanya going, even though I could understand it. I was a bit gutted that Clichy went. You know, how'd you? Ashley Cole broke my heart. It's like, how far do you go back? It's just...
Ozil leaving is not going to break my heart, and I'm not going to be angry about it.
No, that's the thing. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. It's just going to be relief more than anything, I think.
It was just complete apathy. Much like Ozil himself, I'll just be apathetic about the situation.
Yeah, indeed.
Probably if he'd went 2 years ago, it would have been different. But now it's just dragged on too long, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And he's been given so many chances as well. That's the thing. It's not like when Emery just throws him out for the sake of it. Arteta has said, look, you start with a clean slate. Here you go. And he's not chosen to take it, basically. So, the fault's his as far as I can see.
I mean, we always go back to that first press conference with Mikel Arteta. That's something we mentioned every video. But he was asked about us, and he said, he's going to be a key player for us, and I have to try and get the best out of him. So at least he's kind of acknowledged that there's no point in flogging a dead horse in a way. He's not got the best out of him. So it's time to move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a big one for watching managers' body language during press conferences. And I think Arteta was completely open about that. He wasn't bristling. He wasn't defensive. He wasn't, sort of annoyed or just sort of saying one thing and being completely counterintuitive in what his body language was saying. He was genuinely open and responsive to the fact that he wanted Ozil to perform as well as he could, and he didn't, basically. Now you look at Arteta, every time the word Ozil is sort of thrown at him, he bristles, he tenses up, his tone changes, and it's just like he's had enough. He's absolutely had enough of Ozil, and I think, to be fair, a lot of Arsenal fans have now as well.
The one thing I'm looking forward to, Toby, is the comments underneath this video calling all of us idiots for not liking Ozil.
No, I still like him. But I just can't see where he's going to get his chance again. So,
to be fair, if we get those comments, just have one ready in response. It just says 2 assists in 18 months. That's all it says, just that.